officers just went and made our own logo. We wanted to extend the offer to you guys, if any of you are artists or graphic designers, if you wanted to. What?
And we're live.
So, hi, Unreal. So we were extending the offer if anyone wants to make the logo for the Global Jam that will be used in promotional material and such. Anything that we use that logo in, any shirts, any buttons, any merchandise, you don't have to pay for any of that. Like, you will get the Global Jam shirt without having to go to Global Jam, although we hope you would go to Global Jam because that makes us happy. But we're going to put some stuff in the Discord about that later, so if you have a knack for graphic design, keep an eye out for that, because there's 6 of us and a lot of you. We want to work together. Okay, club name. So, this is a formality that we have to go through, but according to the Constitution, we are the Kennesaw State University Game Design and Development Club, and we need to become the Game Design and Development Club, because we are students at this school, we host our meetings in this school, but we are not officially an affiliate through any of those channels, I suppose.
More or less.
But in order to change the name, any change to the Constitution has to be made on a club vote. So, we have to do a vote on whether to get rid of the Kennesaw State University part of our name in the Constitution. Who wants to do that?
Yay! Are you going to mention
Sure.
the banking, or?
We need a recount.
Is that pertinent?
No, it's not pertinent, but cool. I think that was most everybody.
That was. Is anyone strictly opposed to this? Chris,
It's always Chris.
I know where you live, Chris.
Okay.
All right, cool. That takes care of that. We have voted to change our name to the Game Design and Development Club without any subtitles or other whatnots.
Cool. Great.
Nice.
Nice.
I don't know why we're clapping for that. Yeah, let's go.
All right, cool. Now you can do your session stuff.
Wait, I got something to say real
Brandon
quick,
has something
and
to
then I'll
say.
let you do it. I'm sorry to take all your time, Brandon.
You're good.
So I have kind of bad, kind of not news regarding the Brawlhalla esports gel season thing for this coming fall. Due to some things I personally screwed up on, I had a calendar date a week in advance when it was actually a week less, and I wasn't notified of this and reminded until not too long ago. For this season, due to Game Jam and a lot of other things that we've had going on, we are not able to hold tryouts for the fall Brawlhalla tournament. I don't know anything about Smiter Paladins, but instead we are going to be sending the team for us that competed in the spring. And I feel really, really bad that I have to do and say this, but I only do it on the case that I'm sorry. If we don't send people now, it's going to be a lot harder to continue doing this in the spring and in years future. I didn't have many people come and contact me with serious inquiry on wanting to do this. I'm gonna practice and go through it, and I'm gonna go really hard, and I really want to be a part of this. I didn't get any of those, which is why I feel a little bit more comfortable doing this. So you have my completely serious apologies that I kind of dropped the ball on doing tryouts for this fall. That being said, we are going to do this in the spring. And if it's the same as last year, Spring Brawlhalla and Smite and Paladins happens at MomoCon, up on the live stage in the back, if any of you have seen that. I'm going to use kind of this experience, so to speak, to hold an incredible tryouts in the spring, and maybe for a few of you that gives you a bit more time to practice. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling because I didn't have much prepared and I'm a little embarrassed about it. But yeah, so for this fall, we're sending our team that went in the spring, and for this coming spring, we're going to make it a real event. So my apologies. Good luck with the session. Have fun. And my DMs are open on Discord if you want to talk to me about this. I'm open for suggestions and whatnot. So thank you guys. Bye, Brandon.
Bye, Brandon.
Bye. Good luck.
On that note. Woo! Alright. So, Unreal Engine. Who here wants to art for a living? Raise your hand really high. Be proud. Be proud. You want to art for a living. Well, guess what? This session is also for you guys. Woo! Who wants the code? Who wants to do the code? Raise your hand. You can do the code with this session because we're going to go over that too. What am I missing? Music? Who likes the music? Awesome. You guys like the music. All right. Well, unfortunately, this doesn't have much to do with music, but you will still use this in a way as a musician if you go to a AAA studio because your music is going to go into Unreal. Sometimes it's other things. I'll get into that in a minute. But the point is, Unreal is a big engine, just like Unity, which, let me get another poll. Who here has used Unity in their class? Okay, so yeah, who hasn't used Unity ever? Hasn't even, like, opened it? Are you guys, so keep your hand raised if you are not a game development major. Okay, so my confusion was, when I was a freshman and a lot of other people here, the intro programming classes for computer science and game development, or just game development, had game Unity in them. And apparently I've been informed that the new intro programming classes don't have Unity in them, so that kind of messes up my whole project. So if most of you have used Unity before, I'll just kind of put that in the side. All right, so I'm just getting a poll. So okay, let's see. What is the Unreal 4 game engine? Well, it's an engine. Everybody knows what a game engine is, right?
Is that what cars go with?
Yes, exactly. So if you're playing a car game, it'll be in an engine. So I know that's not what you meant, but it's what it is.
I thought the engine was in the car game.
Yeah, there is also another engine in the car in the engine that is a
there
car
a car
game.
in that engine?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh.
So I'm gonna. Okay, I don't know if this is even a good example because this is older than me. But I'm going up to here and I'm playing. Imagine there's actually a computer in here. I guess you'd call it a computer. I'm playing a game. There's two characters on the screen. There's the floor. All this is in an engine. It used to be hard-coded, like on this thing. I don't want to break it, but this thing used to be hard-coded. But now we have these things to allow us to have a character over here, a character over there, a floor. That's what engines are for. So as a one single person, you can make an entire game with an engine. You probably already knew that. Most of you already knew that because you are interested in games. But anyway, Unreal 4 is a type of engine, and it's a very popular engine used by a lot of industry leaders. I went to GDC and I asked around, and as I was looking for a job revolving around Unity, I asked like companies like Insomniac, who made the new Spider-Man game. I asked Microsoft, like all the Xbox stuff. I asked all of them, do they use Unity? And the only ones that responded were mobile companies. Like there's a DC game that's on the phone. They're like, yeah, we use Unity. And Unity is great, but when I asked a lot of these AAA studios, they replied with either Unreal Engine 4 or Unreal Engine 3 varied. So like they took Unreal Engine 3 and then made it their own. All these companies base a lot of their engines off of Unreal or just use Unreal directly. So it's very useful to get into, at least to delve a little bit into if you want to work for somebody who has money. We want money, right? So a lot of these companies have money. Kingdom Hearts 3, made by a very big developer or publisher and developer, Square Enix, they have money. Tekken 7, Gears of War 4, made by Microsoft, they have a little bit of money, I think, I've heard. Borderlands 2, Bioshock, all these games were made by Unreal. So if you show these employers that you have delved into Unreal, you're likely to get a job with them. So first of all, just the games being made in this engine is a big plus of wanting to learn it. But also, it's based on C++. C++ is a language. Does everybody know what a language is? Yeah, so C++ is a programming language. It's very popular. And when I asked these same companies that used Unreal what language they usually code in, it was C++. So there's also these things called blueprints in Unreal. These are a replacement for C++. So you can when you're programming in Unreal Engine, you can use either C++ or blueprints. Today, I am going to look at C++ because that is what most of the people I talk to use. So I wanted to stay on track with what I see the industry is. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I only talked to specific people, I don't know. But from what I heard, the industry standard is C++ and some variant of Unreal. So yeah, so blueprints are another thing that's not in this session, but they are more easy to use if you don't know anything about programming or don't want to learn a language. All right, so in terms of programming, this is not a programming session. This isn't a programming session, so I'm not going to teach you like C++ almost at all. I'm just going to show you where it would go, because C++ is an entirely different monster than C# or C or Java or anything like that. It's not that hard as you're thinking. Like people usually see C++ and data structures and think, oh, it's not that hard, but it's too much for an hour session. So if you want to know about C++ to use in your Unreal Engine games, you need to look at the documentation. Your best friend ever. Because you can find not all the answers. You can find a lot of answers in the documentation that you're wondering, like, how do I make a ball bounce? How do I make the sky blow up? I don't know. That's probably a thing you can do. So look at this. Keep this in mind. All you have to do is Google Unreal C++ documentation, and you'll have everything you need. I'm not going to go over the specifics of C++ in this lecture, or whatever you call it. This is another good site for learning the programming side of things. It has for example, unrealc++.com/rotate object. That's not the exact URL, but that's one of the tutorials you can find for the programming side. So that's all programming stuff we're not going to go into. But for Unity devs, this site is a godsend because it's made directly from Epic Games, who makes Unreal, and it introduces you to the engine from a Unity standpoint. So almost all of you raise your hand saying you've used Unity. Well, in this site, you can just Google Unreal for Unity devs. This site will give you almost everything you need to know about transitioning or adding it to your repertoire. So yeah, so we're not going to go into code in summary, but if you're a Unity dev, that site's really nice. So let's see. So for the people who said they have used Unity, there's an overview of the similarities between this editor. I'm also going to give short descriptions for people who, like the people who said they've never used an engine, or at least Unity engine. So here's a scene in Unity. Just for people who don't know Unity, just kind of zone out for a bit. Scene is the viewport. Hierarchy doesn't exist in there. I'll get that out in a minute. The project view is called the content browser in Unreal. And the inspector is made up of these two. So when you open up Unreal and you're a Unity dev and you've never seen Unreal before, just kind of, you can see these side by side. You can find this image at the link I posted in the last slide, Unreal for Unity devs. It'll show you the basic similarities. But if you haven't used Unity, let's go over the basic terms. So, oh my God.
Okay.
Hello.
I just put my hand down on accident. It doesn't want us learning it. Guessing has found us. All right. You have a question? Okay. So these are some terms, and I put IU as in Unity for those Unity people. These are some terms that are fundamental that you'll need to know, or at least you'll need to understand the concept of. So some of these words may sound like too technical, but believe me, when you get your head around them, they're not that hard. So a map file. You see this map file from the viewport, and remember how I said you have your players and your sky and all that? Those are in something called a map file / viewport. So those terms, if you want to write them down, if you want to just memorize them, a map file is that file that holds the world in your hand. You've got the whole wide world in your hands, basically. So, like, it's infinite in size, according to how your computer won't blow up if it gets too big. But it's just this world that you can place objects and place like people and things. It's just the world where your game happens. So that's the map file. And in Unity, it's called a scene. Actors. Those are things that exist in this map file. Bear with me. Trees, players, lights, floors, anything you can think of, it's going to be an actor. Even, well, except for the map file, but anything will be an actor. These are called game objects in Unity, and they're inside a scene, aka a map file in Unity. So yeah, so these actors are what make up things in this world. Sorry, I've had a pretty rough day. Am I making sense or am I being unclear? You're good? Okay.
You're good. You're good.
So static mesh actors. Renderable geometry. Ooh, scary words. I mean, not to some people, but to some people, yes. So renderable geometry, basically all you need to know is your computer renders objects. That's why you can see Mario on your screen. That was cringy, but you know, Mario. You guys play the Marios these days, right, kids? So Mario is just it. If 3D Mario would be geometry rendered by your graphics card, your GPU, or Xbox GPU or Nintendo GPU, anything like that. So just all you need to know is that these objects are being rendered. And when you want to render something, that thing is a mesh or a static mesh actor. So if I spawn an actor right in front of me, nobody can see it because it doesn't have a mesh. Now I attach a mesh to it, and look, it's me. I'm an actor with a mesh. I'm a static mesh actor. Hey, come on in. This is Professor Ron Kai, your official advisor.
I didn't know you were here. I went to the other room.
Ah, yes. The old switcheroo. We got
Sorry,
you.
this is the problem, not joining as a member.
Yeah, we got you. We all like hidden here and had the lights off. All right, so a static mesh actor is just a mesh. So most things will need a mesh, or else they'll just be invisible. And in Unity, that's just called a mesh. So similar words, but Unreal's official terminology is a static mesh actor. And then everything that makes these actors do something that's code. So for those non-coders out there, in Unreal you'll be able, if you're an artist, you can make your art in a program, draw, scan it in on anything, and then you put it into Unreal. It could be a mesh on an actor, but if you want that mesh if you want the actor to jump, that's where you call your programmer buddy up and say, help, I have this art I put in my game and it doesn't jump. Why isn't it jumping? And they'll be like, and then they make it jump. That's easy as that. So that's where the C++ comes in. When you want to make these actors do something, you'll code it. So for people who've used Unity, you usually use C# scripts and attach them to your objects. In C++, it's a more traditional hierarchy where you have .h files and .c++ files, headers, and C++ files. Since not everybody here is a coder, I won't go too into depth in those, but that's just the equivalent in Unity, these two types of files. And then if you want to look this up on your own, I mentioned blueprints earlier. That's an alternative way of coding without code. It's magic. But these files are usually in C++. As far as the industry people I've talked to, they learn this language for their code. All right. So that was it. So we're gonna make something in Unreal. Whoa! What is that? All right, I'm going to. So everybody who has it installed, when you installed Unreal Engine, you should have installed something called Epic Games. It's this wonderful launcher that forces you to have Fortnite in the same section as your engine. Is that better? Is that not as good? Still not good? There's 3 lights, so maybe some combination will work. That's good. All right, so everybody, can I get another poll? Who has Unreal in front of them? Raise your hand. Okay. Okay, yeah. So that was a problem because Unreal is pretty big. So like we wanted to have them pre-installed on these things, but it just gets wiped and we couldn't get here early enough and all that. So just follow along. It's pretty simple. It's easier than you think. To make a game or make something in Unreal Engine. What the heck? Why? So basic mouse functionality is broken, so the session's over. Okay.
Try going to your library, and then you can launch it from there.
Oh my god.
You try turning it on and off.
Run it from the little.
I'm literally causing a fire. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna use the trackpad. Oh wait, that doesn't work.
It's the mouse.
Oh gosh, this is horrible. Oh, there we go. So I'm gonna use the trackpad. So you use Epic Games Launcher to launch Unreal Engine.
Don't launch Fortnite.
Don't launch Fortnite because you're not gonna really make games with that. I mean, if you do, then you're amazing. I don't know how you did that.
That's the modding community, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. If you want to hack kids' counts in Fortnite, I mean, I'm not endorsing that. Don't do that. But let's see. Loading. All right, so this is the Unreal Project browser. It's kind of like when you open Unity and you select make a new project. It's just very similar, very simple. But here you'll see very obvious tabs, new project and projects. I won't go too slowly because I realize that'll be very boring. But either way, we know new project. Now you have the option of making a Blueprint project or a C++ project. Like I said, you can learn Blueprint on your own time, but C++ is generally what I've seen people use. So I'm going to use basic code because I don't want all these things given to me. So I'm just going to say basic code, and I'm going to name my project the Watcher because he's going to watch something. All right, so now I'm going to create the project, and while this is loading on my slow Mac, by the way, the reason I brought a Mac was because people think that Unreal Engine is this scary thing where like you need a monster computer to run it because the games that are built on it are C++ monsters. I don't know. It's not that big a deal. You can run it on older computers, a Mac. No offense, Mac, but you're not the most powerful. Yeah, exactly. So you can run it on a Mac. It's just an engine. So I wanted to mention at this point that there was a problem with compiling in my Unreal Engine that I hadn't seen before. So I was going to do a little bit of C++ coding and then compile it and show you actual code movement. But instead, like I said earlier, this isn't a coding workshop. I'm going to have Ryan, that's him, Ryan, he's going to come and show some projects he's already made in Unreal to show you what you can do after I finish showing the basics.
Brandon, I actually have an issue because I built it, and then when you go for shipping, it's supposed to be as a new project, but it shipped as a .exe for some reason. So I'm going to try it, and we'll see if it actually opens up a project that we can work with.
Yeah. So you mean like on your computer, right?
No, it's on. I have the desktop.
Oh, okay, so this is a Mac, so I don't think it can run exes, but that's fine. Either way,
We'll see if it works. If it works, it works. If it doesn't,
yeah, we'll also just watch trailers of
Use the
yeah, this computer, yeah. Or we could just watch trailers of Rocket League. Alright, so it's loading this. So if you did bring Unreal, the few of you that did, you have you have the Unreal editor, and then you might have something different. So I have Xcode because I'm running this on a Mac. It's just a compiler, just like your own C++, like Visual Studio or whatever you guys supposedly had. So it opens Xcode for me automatically, so I can do my coding, and then it opens this Unreal editor, which is where you will be doing most of your work. And now we wait. So this is version 420. I don't know what version you guys have, but this is the newest one. Load. All right, so when you load a standard basic C++ scene, you get this lovely living room floating over the sky, oblivion, and if you fall off, you go to your death. It's a wonderful room right here. Let me show you around. Let me see. So this is the standard scene. For some reason, so here's the difference about Unreal and Unity. Unity comes with almost nothing. Like it assumes you have your own artists, your own modelers. I mean, so in a way this does too, but Unreal has a lot of things out of the box. So you'll notice that it has these models you're probably not going to use. But what you might use is this lighting. There's some lighting already out of the box. There's some See that lighting right there? There's what do you call it? Motion blur. That's it. Some people don't like that, but when you play, you'll notice that it comes with some post-processing effects like motion blur. These might be terms you aren't familiar with. Just know that they make it pretty. So a lot of these things are out of the box. But let's look at this basic layout. So we have Unreal Engine. We talked about our map file. The map file currently holds a chair, 2 chairs, a desk, some floor, some lighting, and you'll notice everything in this map file is in this little window. And this window is known as the World Outliner. You don't need to remember that really, but just know that when people reference that, that's what they mean. So now if you click a different object, you'll see the highlighted object in the World Outliner, kind of like the inspector in Unity. So as you can see, it starts with this map file, or these are settings actually. So these settings, you can double click them, and in this window you can see the specifics, which we don't need to go through because there are a lot and just little things. Like physics, you can override the gravity and make it all funky. All these things, this is the settings that overlap everything. You've got some standard audio that came with Unreal. You don't need to worry about that. You don't need to worry about the lighting, although you can like turn stuff off, like boom, no lighting. You can add your own lighting like you can with Unity, but it just comes with some out of the box. So now you have these things you don't need to worry about. Just know, like the sky, if you want to like Armageddon this thing, you can just make the sky go away. If you want, these reflection things are just specific to Unreal that you'll learn later on down the line. So here's where our first relevant to any developer objects are. So any developer will want to make this map file have what you would envision your game. So apparently whoever made the default Unreal scene really likes chairs and wants every game to have 2 chairs and a table. So we can see each instance of the chair in this little outliner. So you can see there's a chair over here, there's a chair over there. You can move the chair around. Chairs, chairs, chairs. And you can see that when you select one of these objects, it correlates to the object in the scene. So there's 2 floor pieces. There's this statue. If you press F, you can zoom in on it, and then it'll focus around that object. So now you can see this beautiful, I don't know what this is. I guess it's a statue, but it looks like water to me. It's a lamp. Whoever titled this is wrong. But there's a lamp on a lamp statue on a table, and these are all the objects. We won't worry about whatever volumes is. So now we have the 2 important things that matter, which are the static meshes, things that, does anybody know what static means? Well, yeah, in this case it means it's still. It doesn't do anything, it doesn't change, it's static. And so now we will look at these things. So remember what actors were earlier. We talked about actors being anything in the scene. So this floor is an actor. This table is an actor. This cube thing, or this reflection thing, is an actor. Everything in this map file or this viewport is an actor. So with this, that is being hacked by the bad cord bandits. They come in at night and they nibble on this cord and make it so that the connection is shoddy, and if you touch it, it breaks. So let's see. You have your static objects, but now we are going to make something that is not static. So so here's how to play in this map file. So we go over, since my screen is really small, it has this arrow that like extends this toolbar. Like the toolbar has save, the marketplace where you can take other people's like art and stuff. And then you have the rest of them down here. If you had a really big monitor, it would have all of them on one toolbar, but it just shoves them over here. So this is where you'll compile code when you've written it. And here's where you'll test your scene out. So if we test the scene out, we see this wonderful floating table scene of death, where there's no escape except for jumping. And we can move around in it, and you'll notice the motion blur here. Can you guys tell that it kind of doesn't look? It looks cinematic almost. That's because Unreal comes with motion blur out of the box and a post-processing effect. So that's why some people like Unreal, is because they can do less work to make it more pretty. But either way, by default, this comes with a camera that you can move around, pan, and enjoy your lovely scene. So now what we're going to do is get rid of these. I didn't really like these anyway. They're kind of ugly to me, so I'm going to get rid of these chairs by deleting them. Oh no, that was the lights. I deleted the sky. Exactly. So I'm going to delete these chairs. Alright, so here's some of the movement I didn't go over. So basically there's only a few things that you need fundamentally to move around your scene. I don't know why I skipped this, but if you have a mouse, which is really recommended, middle mouse click and move your mouse to kind of pan around the scene. Hello. So I'm moving, and then I can scroll to zoom in. So if I wanted to focus on this table and delete it, I can click on it, press F, and now I can move around it, get different angles. Now I can left click to dolly, I think it's called dollying up. I know, I'm not sure, but you can left click to move around like this, or you can right click to just move the camera. Or sorry, other way around. Left click to move around, and right click to do that. So I'm going to grab this table, I'm going to press F to lock onto it, and I'm going to move above it. So you might be wondering, how do you look down on it if you go up here? You can do this, yes, but you can also, on Mac, it's option left click. I think it is, what is it on Windows? Yeah. So if you click on it and then use, I think it's a command probably, or control. I mean, so yeah. So if you control click left click, you can actually move around it. I'm going to focus on it again with F, and I'm going to zoom around it. So this is another way you can get around an object. But unfortunately for this table, he's going to die. So let's get rid of him. Delete. Oh, and the statue. No participation awards here. So you might notice that the shadows remain from those objects. That's because we haven't built the lighting. And if you don't know what that means, it's beyond the scope of this. So now we have a scene. Let's just play it again just to make sure. We have a scene where you can look around and all the tables are gone. So unfortunately, you're just here alone. No tables to talk to. Now let's press escape, and let's see. Now we're going to create our actor. So the reason that we're doing this is because I want to familiarize you guys who have used Unity with how you would instantiate a game object, quote unquote, or just place a game object, whatever you hear in your 1301s in Unreal. So we're just learning how to do things we probably already know in a new environment. So if you don't know anything about it, I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, but it helps if you've done Unity. All right, so this is right here is your templates for actors. So say I wanted an actor with a light source. So light sources are like, you see how the sun is reflecting down on the ground? That sun is an example of a light source. So say I wanted a torch. It's an actor. So what do we need for this torch? Well, you need the base actor, so an empty actor, because that is just what it is. And then you need something to make it not invisible. So we mentioned earlier, can somebody answer me what would help make this actor be able to be viewed by a human eye? Yeah, the static mesh actor. We're gonna make an actor and make it a static mesh actor. So now we have the artist in here. He would be making like a really cool torch from medieval times, modeled, has a texture that represents the exact type of wood that you would find in 14th century Europe, something like that. But for us, we're just going, for non-artists like me, we're going to make a little cube, and that's going to be our torch. So we need to we have to have an actor, we have to have a mesh, and then to make it light up, we can add a light source. So that way it reacts like an actual torch might. So here's an example of making an actor. So listen carefully here. This is a very, very hard thing to do. You click it and you drag it. I might do it again if you guys need me to, but now we have an actor in our scene. So we can use the control click, or we can press F to focus on it. We can control click around it, and you'll notice, wait a second, I thought actors didn't have a mesh. What is this ball? That's just something called a gizmo, which is an icon used to denote things that you won't see when you build the game or when you play the game. So right now, you'll notice that the ball remains the same size no matter how far you zoom out, and that's because it's just an image. It's just a static gizmo. Because if we press play, we'll notice the actor doesn't have a mesh. So now we need to add a mesh to it. So I'm going to make sure I click on this actor, and it's as simple as this. Go to the details section of your actor and add a component. Components are what make up any part of an actor. So its light source is a component, its mesh is a component, a script would be a component. So let's add a component, and let's make it a really, really, really impressive looking square. There we go. Beautiful square right there. So this is our new mesh. So now if you press play, ooh, we have this amazing torch, but it's not a torch yet. It's just a cube. So now let's make it a cube, or make it a torch. So let's press F to zoom in on it. Now I'm gonna press that Option / Control click to zoom around it. Now we'll notice that torches are usually not cubes by deductive reasoning. So now we're going to let's see. So you can press the QWERTY keys, or the QWERT keys. So Q, W, E, R. So actually just QWER. Q, or no, it's just W, E, R. So W, E, and R are your keys that you will use to manipulate this object, this actor. So if we press W, we'll notice these little arrows. In Unity, they're the same thing. So you can move like this, and it will move by increments of a small increment. So you'll see that it moves like, it doesn't move consistently, it moves. So we notice that it has a snap function. That's always useful because a lot of times you want to model something to look realistic. Like this room is a certain number of meters, you can snap me to the corner of this room in this scene. So now we're just going to keep it where it is as far as position, but now we're going to want to rotate it. Or no, sorry, not rotate it, scale it. So now we can press R to get to these little boxes. Those are the scalars. So now we'll just make it a bit smaller, and you can see it snaps with those two. So, that's my roommate. Alright, let's see. So now we can option around it. We can see that now it looks a bit smaller. But how much smaller is it exactly? Well, over here in this details view that we saw earlier, we see the values that associate its width. So in the Y direction, we're changing this size right here. And you can actually see it. It's okay, so now it's, if you guys can see, it's 1.5, then it's 1.25, then you just keep making it smaller. So we want a torch that's about this big. Oops. So Command Z, Control Z is your best friend when you do stuff like that. But now we want it that skinny, and we're going to want it that skinny in that direction, maybe a little bit more. Because that's our torch, and then we'll want to make it a bit tall so it reaches the ground. Alright? So now we have a very impressive looking torch right there. It looks just like a real one. But we're going to want to add something to it to make it look like a torch. So you could add a light source, but when I said that Unreal comes out of the box with a lot of things, I meant it. So in Unity you have these particle effects that make, fire. Well, normally the particle effects by default are just little bubbles or like lines or something like that. In Unreal you can make fire just right from this menu. like you're a caveman, but you just suddenly gone to the future, and now you can make fire instantly. Let's see. So now we're gonna do. Where is it? I'm blanking out here, but there's. Let's see. Yeah. Particle system. Actually, let's just make a point light for this instance because I'm having trouble remembering. But anyway, so for a point light, we mentioned earlier that that's a light source. So you can place that light source down and then move it up a bit. Sorry. So now we have our actor. I'm missing a menu somewhere because this computer is so small. Here it is. So this is another menu that shows you each part of this actor. So now we see its mesh, this cube. We have this point light that we just edited, or just added. So now we can move this point light up. So you notice how earlier, if we select the whole actor, when we move it, it'll move the whole thing. But we want this point light to be at the top because that's where the torch would be. So now we can select this point light and then move it up. So let's see. We'll have it about here because if we had an artist, we would make a fire around it. But now we have this torch. So now if we press play, without any code, we've made something to prototype with. So now you can show your boss, or you can show your friend who wants to start a company with you, hey, I made this amazing game. It's called Watch a Torch. And you just sit here and watch a torch. But it's a prototype. So we made this in like 30 minutes. I mean, even with slower teaching. You can think of the things you can make that look pretty with Unreal at home with time. And maybe an artist friend. Wink, wink. Not me, you guys. So if you have the art, if you have a programmer, if you have anything, you can use Unreal Engine to bring all these ideas together and make something pretty good looking. So now that we've made something where you can just walk around and watch a torch, let's see. I would do code stuff, but like I said, my compiler's not working, so that's just the basics of moving things around. Adding objects with components. Let's make some more floor, and that'll be the last thing I do with Unreal because of this code blockage. But so if you look in this world outliner, you'll see that we have 2 floors, as we already knew. But what if I want more floors? Well, let's see. Let's copy and paste them. And notice how I said that Unreal has snapping. So if I move this, if you get close enough, it'll snap into place, because the units are certain meters. So yes, the mesh, if you press F to focus in on it and pan around with the middle mouse button, you'll notice that no, the meshes don't actually line up completely. That's where your texturist, your environmental artist, and your texture would make sure those are seamless, or you would use a texture that is seamless. But for now, we're just going to copy some more floor. I'm going to snap that into place. Oops. Let me just make sure it's good. And if you ever are doubting if it's in the right place, you can see that the location, you have location, rotation, and scale. We were messing with scale earlier by making it bigger and smaller, like this. The same applies to location. You can manually set in the values for location. So you can see that it snapped because this is a very exact number. It's -600. So if you click on this one, you can tell that it's, -200, -600. You can tell these are in exact measurements based on what Unreal defaults to. So this could be meters, this could be inches, this could be anything. It's just dependent on this virtual space that we've created. It's not an actual unit of measurement, obviously. So we have a floor here at -200, a floor here at -600. All these snapped floors. So let's make another one over here, copy and paste, press W to move it. I'm going to press F to zoom in. And I'm going to snap it over here. Snapped it too far. Now I'm going to copy and paste it again and snap it a bit over here. Yeah. Nice. Right. Thank you. So the geometry, you can see exact lines of the geometry, where it will where it lines up. So if you did that, you'll notice the geometry overlaps. And how do you get out of this? Alt G. So you'll notice, ooh, that doesn't look good. The textures are clipping. It looks freaky. It looks like Skyrim. Well, we don't want that. So we're going to go to Alt, let's see, Control J, right? Or no, Alt J. Alt J is a great band, by the way. I hope you check them out. But anyway, so that's a good way. Thank you for saying that. You'll notice that this geometry is triangles, or they're made up of triangles. Fun fact, that's how your GPU renders these geometric objects. Is from triangles. Everything you see is made up of little triangles. So even though these floors are cubes, you can see the cubes are two triangles mixed together to make a cube or a square. All right, so I'm going to press Alt G or Option G to get back into this view. Now it looks pretty okay with the minor texture clipping. But now you'll notice that our torch we made has more of an effect because there's more floor to light on. I don't know if that's a word, but so now so this is a sloppier way. You can make blueprints of this object, which is something like prefabs, but that's a more advanced topic. If you just copy and paste them for our purposes, you can get like a little cult ritual scene where you have surrounding torches and you're going to summon some devil or something. I don't know. So let's copy and paste it again. Let's do it a bunch of times. Copy, paste. And now you'll see that you've made Diablo 4 in 5 minutes. So you'll see your ritual circle, your summoning circle. And this is like, if you use Unity, the surprise, or maybe not a surprise, but what this purpose should be is to show you that it's not that different. It's easier than you think. Because a lot of people I've talked to, including myself, say Unreal and Unity, or Unity is like what we get taught in classes, and Unreal is this scary thing that nobody's taught me, and it's, oh, somebody said it's an industry standard. Oh no, I've never touched it. It's going to be such a hard thing to learn. But if you use Unity, it's not that hard. And if you haven't used Unity, jump right in. So we're gonna try to show some games that our resident Ryan has made with Unity in a minute. But you had a question? All right, so that's building the lighting, and that's something that I did not have time to look up in a week. Do you know, Ryan?
Oh, yeah. So to build the lighting, just a little
Yeah, I thought it would be that easy.
yeah, it's
Build options. There it is. Boom. Okay, so now, Mac power. Power of the Mac. 33%. And when I said that, I meant I was being sarcastic. It's slow, but sorry. 33%. Done. Boom. So now, it's still not done. So now you'll notice, so what building the lighting really means, I'm not an expert at this, so bear with me, but from what I can tell, you have these things called light maps. There's a lot of terms that have been thrown out today, but light maps where when you run the game, the light of static objects is plastered to places. So for example, here's my shadow, right? On this billboard, on this board, it's in a billboard. If I'm standing here and I'm a mannequin and I'm never moving, the way the lighting affects me, it's always constant. There's no need to calculate this on your computer every second or every frame because I'm static. So that's where building light helps out, because you'll notice those chairs were not, they weren't the chairs from Harry Potter where somebody's hiding inside them. They were just normal chairs. So they were always going to just stand there and static. So those things you can just build, bake the lighting into the ground, and then they're fine. But so we deleted the chairs, that lighting persisted, and that those shadows persisted because you have to build the lighting again. Make sense? That's some, like, if you're doing class, that I don't even know what class that's taught in.
Usually we would teach that in media.
Right, yeah. I remember that. Making lights, yeah. So that's something for a specific class called visual media interaction, or your own endeavors if you decide to go into documentation. Yeah, bake. Wake and bake. But so basically, what any of you have in common is, let's see, you're going, you can set up while I'm talking. So all of you here, you may not be going to school to be a developer. You might be a baker or like somebody who just went to these meetings because you want to learn about it. Well, either way, all of us are in college and we want to get jobs, and sometimes that requires showing your boss something. You could be a musician and you want to get a job making music for a game. Unreal is a good way to, so you want to make demonic music to summon the devils of hell. You can just make a summoning circle and then put your music in, and you have this atmosphere where you hear the demonic, I don't know if this is a good example, but you hear the demonic sounds of hell, and there you go, it's a prototype. It's not, Unreal isn't really made for one person. No engine is for one person to make Rocket League by themselves. You need artists, you need musicians, you need sound designers, you need level designers, you need programmers, you need engine programmers. Well, no, you don't, because they don't know. But you need a lot of things. So this is good for prototyping and making something pretty. So I would recommend, on your own, going to the site that I posted, or you just Google Unreal documentation, and you can learn all you can about it. It's a lot of self-teaching, but here's a startup. Here's view into what it looks like. So, yeah. And here's some games.
Cool. Where's the mouse for this? Is that it? Oh, you
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Here, you still have this set up? If this isn't
Oh, it
work-
goes in the computer on the side, on the bottom of the side, like way over there.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I can do an Unreal showcase to like hype up what. When I say Unreal showcase, I mean like trailer, yeah. Oh no, I didn't mean to go to shopping. I want Unreal Tournament for $5. Oh, that's cool.
That is a good price.
I mean, it is like 10, 15 years, but still. All right.
Can I not sign into someone else?
Do what, sorry? Sorry? How I add an imaginary object? So, yeah, and then you should see match button. I will play this. Oh, you got it? Okay.
Sorry, man. How do I sign into someone else? Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
I think this is a like thing where you have to restart it. That's fine. You have a video on YouTube of your game from the game jam
I do have one on the game jam, yeah.
right here.
Okay, cool.
Did you figure it out? Static or no. So scroll down, I guess. You can. So these are some basic shapes you can make your character or your object for prototyping up there. So if you wanted to make it like an inch works like you did, you can use view. That one right there. And then now if you look at your objects over there, yeah, there you go. So here's a game one of your very own colleagues made that was really good. I voted for it. I don't know if I should have said that, but I voted for it in
Thank you.
the Game Jam contest. Want to full screen it?
So I'll just kind of give a little bit of what we used that's special to Unreal. And this used a lot of reflection captures. That was one thing that Brandon was showing earlier. It was just a simple little actor that had no meshes, no actual physical representation in the game world. But what it does is it essentially is a volume that you would place around anything that you wanted the reflection to capture. So if you had like a mirror and I was the mirror, then we put this volume inside this whole room so that when you build the lighting, it would calculate how the different reflections would look depending on this room. And so wherever you put that volume would change how that does. Sorry, that's very, very random, but it's one of the biggest things that we did using Unreal that I don't know how I'd use using Unity. And so I thought that was worth mentioning, was that's how we got all those reflections and lighting effects.
And you didn't have to use any, did you just use Unreal out of the box, like lighting, like objects and stuff?
Yeah, so we tweaked the details just a little bit, like numbers, but it was all out of the box. You didn't add any code to that lighting that was already preset.
So you didn't have to buy a shader or get somebody to make a shader or that kind of stuff, right?
Exactly,
for lighting. So that's something, I personally believe that you can make any, well, I mean, not you, but a bunch of people can make anything
You can do
in
it.
the engine. Like, you can make the same exact thing you can make in Unreal in Unity, in my opinion. But Unreal is just a very nice option to have something that requires more minimal work to make it look good. That's my personal opinion. But if that's not good enough to convince you, jobs. A lot of AAA, like I said, a lot of AAA people, a lot of AAA companies are using Unreal. A lot of indie developers are using Unity, so if you want to do that, maybe focus more on that. But a lot of people will pay you good money if you know how to use Unreal. That's just what I've seen from talking to developers. So,
I'd like to add something. While you're here and taking classes, it's good to make and finish projects and have something to show. Because one very cool thing to pull out during interviews is people ask you, so what have you done? And you whip out your phone and you're like, here, play my resume. And they do so. And it helps.
Alexa, play Jacob Jennings' resume. So that's another thing. The purpose of this was to tell you that we have 1 minute left, but the purpose of this was to just show you that it's not as scary as it seems, because, like I said, people are scared of it.
Yeah.
So another thing that's not scary, like you said, is making something. Even if you think it's horrible, just make something and then show it to your employers, and they're likely to say, "Come on in, we'll talk." Because that's what we're all here for, right? I mean, a lot of us love what we do, but we can also love what we do and like money, right? Money is good.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that makes Unreal a lot easier to approach than you'd expect is the use of blueprints. They're really weird and they seem pretty unintuitive at first. But it's a super easy way for artists and designers to get an actual interactive something working in an engine without using the code. And so I'd say watch a few tutorials on that and you'll pick it up a lot quicker than you think, especially if you already code, because it's all the same rules, it's all the same everything, just represented visually instead of line by line. And that's definitely, it's not used much in the industry unless you're an artist or designer, of course. But it's worth knowing and understanding because it really helps rapid prototyping. Unity has something similar called vplay, if anyone's familiar with it.
All right. Anybody have any questions? I know I'm not who's the leader of Epic Games? Tim? No, that's not him. So I know I'm not the guy who knows everything about Unreal, but I tried to at least introduce it to you so you can become the genius and make Fortnite. That was the purpose of this. Fortnite 2. There you go. So if you make Fortnite 2, give me some royalties because I just showed you this. Even though you probably already seen it. All right. Thanks. That was it. That was an hour.